Hello, beautiful people. Carl here from Games at Brains and Headbang Live, gbhblofficial for sure. And it is, of course, the state of things. Yes, it finally happened. I missed a week. I didn't do one last week. And it's simple. No time. Unsurprisingly, I pretty much come in here every week or every video so far and have some more moan or some reference to my lack of time. But yeah, last week was particularly bad in that I was coming off the back of an illness that, although I shook the worst part of it, there was a section of it that just would not shake, and it kind of left me really sleep deprived and feeling constantly tired all week. I then hit late at work, a full block of 7 of them, one of the worst parts of my roster and a section I despise, but I had to do it this time. Full 7 of late, and it got to having to record a state of things, and not only did I feel like I didn't have much to say, I just felt like I needed the time to do other things. I needed the time to catch up with written reviews, to focus on other things, and everything just felt like it was coming at me really, really fast. I mean, really, really fast. For example, Last of Us started this week, and that was another thing that was like, okay, got to watch that, got to arrange a time with Damon to jump on and do a video review, and then we got to post that, and all of this stuff happening around at the same time as doing the usual things, catching up on so many reviews, so much content, particularly heading into an Easter sort of weekend, which for a lot of people is time off, so they're trying to get their stuff in before they go away. I'm working pretty much over it, aside from, as of the time recording, tomorrow, but as of the time we're watching today, a nice gig in London. We're going to see Gamma Bomb, Raised by Owls, and Bangover at the 2 to 9 in London. Really looking forward to that. And then it's back to work again. So just busy, basically. But alongside that, just some personal life things that are really kind of like important and quite dominating. You'd think like, oh my God, that must be taking up so much of your time, what I'm about to talk about. I'm going to actually talk about it this week. But it is, of course it is. It dominated most of yesterday, Thursday. But even still, it was balanced. I paused there because I was trying to think of the right word to sort of say, but it was balanced in the sense that it took up some of the day, but I prepared for that, I planned for it, and then what the rest of the evening was mostly not stressing about it, but thinking about it, talking about it, and then just trying to do other little bits. Quite distracted, really. We went house hunting, basically. That's what we did. We're at that stage, yes, the kind of thing that I've been semi-keeping quiet or briefly touching upon, is that we're at a stage where now we want to buy our own place. And we're going to do that. We're in a position where we can do that. We've been building to it for a while, for a couple of years actually. And it's finally reached that point. We've been waiting for a specific period in time. We were at that period in time, and yesterday was the very first day we went house hunting. Went to view several houses, in our area or a little bit further out. And from that came away with several that we were very impressed by. One in particular that we basically want. And we'll be progressing that for now. That's kind of the thinking there. It wasn't a great day, if I'm honest, to begin with. We oh God, well, how to put it, right? So the very first place we went to see, we'll talk this through. The very first place we went to see, we were shown around by the owner. It was very early in the morning. It still lived in, very well lived in, and she was there, the owner, alongside her father and her daughter. So immediate awkwardness. Bear in mind, we have never done this before, so we felt so awkward, so weird. We were there very early, checking out the scope in the area, getting an idea of it, and then we were just sort of hanging around. But we felt really awkward about it. We were in that house for all of 2 minutes, because it's not very big, and it's like, here's a bedroom, and she's kind of like laughing nervously, like, oh, is there anything else? And we're like, we don't know, we don't have a clue, nope, thank you very much, oh, bye, walking out and being like, well, it was nice, but that was about it. The second one we felt we were a little bit more prepared for, particularly as we're going to be shown around by an agent, except this might be the craziest of one. So we scoped at the area, right? Scoped the area. It's quite funny because where it was like my brother Brendan lives like 5 minutes away from this property. Like that's how close it was to him. He might watch this video. I don't know if he does watch this video, but maybe he might watch this video and actually find this out, because I haven't mentioned this. I've been very coy about a lot of this because I don't really want to talk about it and open up about it too much, because it's such an early stage, and I don't want to jinx it. I don't want to sell it. I believe in that. I don't believe in that anyway. But I want to be able to celebrate something rather than just go, oh yeah, we're looking for, like, it's been that constantly. Everybody knew what we were doing, but it'd be like, oh, how's that going? We're like, well, we're waiting. We're still waiting for this time. And even now it's like, well, how's that going? It's like, well, we're waiting. We're going to be waiting for this next, always waiting for the next stage. Anyway, it was quite close to where Brendan lived. And from the outside, we kind of liked it. But the agent turns up, right? No, sorry, we walked around first, right? So we walked around, and as we're walking around, a car pulls up alongside me. Guy shouts out to me and says, oh, do you smoke? And I'm like, no, I don't, obviously. And he's like, and he's kind of like, okay. And I was like, no, we don't smoke. Now, for the record, right? this wasn't do you smoke in that sense. Do you know what I mean? It's do you smoke in another sense. I can 100% tell you I know this interaction. I'm used to this interaction from the past. It was not for a cigarette, put it that way. But then he says to me, well, what do you do? And again, I know this interaction. I was like, oh man, nothing. And he was like, all right, man, have a good day. And drove off and stuff like that. Really, really polite, funny interaction. But it was like, cool. You know, offered drugs on the street at, what was this? This would have been about, oh God, what time would it have been? Half one? Yeah, about 1:15. 1:15 on a weekday, offered some drugs in the street. And a very polite interaction, but just made me laugh, you know? And then as we were walking up the street, right, I was talking away, me and Lou were talking away, and I noticed this big old rat a few doors down, then run into someone else's house. She didn't see it, but it was a big old bloody rat running into someone else's garden. And the street was all clean and tidy, so it's just a rat, it's, you know, it's streets and stuff like that. But these two interactions did not start things off well. However, it gets worse. So the agent turns up, nice enough lady, you know, quite young, a little awkward about, you know, the scenario, because it turns out the place had tenants in it. Now, I vaguely remember this being the case, but obviously, you know, as a tenant who might be on their way out, this stuff gets arranged by the owner and stuff like that. Anyway, she rings the doorbell. There's no answer. We wait probably a good 2 minutes. We're just sort of standing there, occasionally making an odd conversation, and nothing happens. So she rings the doorbell again. And out of the corner of my eye, I saw the blind for the living room out get lifted just slightly, and someone look out and then drop it. So I sort of said, like, without making a big thing, I was like to the agent, like, the blind just lifted. Someone is there. So they're clearly ignoring, you know. And it's just, while she's talking as well, she revealed to us that, oh yeah, the tenants, you know, the tenants, they have a place to go. They're going, you know, they're separating. So this is why the place has been empty. And it's like, oh my God, this is so awkward. So the tenants there, I've just seen them peering out the blinds. What's it called? I know you're telling us they're separating, but they're both here. This is going to be so uncomfortably awkward, right? Anyway, still no answer. So she calls her office. Anyway, our office must have called the house, and then finally, I mean, we must have waited maybe 5 to 10 minutes outside. Like, I was at the point where if we didn't get an answer in a minute, I was just gonna be like, forget this. This is not worth it. It's too awkward. It's too weird. I don't like it. Tell the owner, like, get this shit together. Finally, they open it, but then there's debate. Like, the woman who answers the door is all like, well, this wasn't arranged. Oh, you can't come in, all that kind of thing. And then the agent's kind of like, well, no, it was arranged, but it was arranged with, I guess, this woman's estranged husband or partner, who is there as well, but asleep. So he comes down and he's like, oh, I thought it was for yesterday, but yeah, you can come and look. He's in his underpants. The woman's in her dressing gown. This was just awful. We're like, okay, come in and show, like, look around. And now, thankfully, the house had so many issues that it's off the table for us completely. But we had a decent look around in that one. But, like, we left and we're like, all right, thanks for that. Nope. Drove off and we're like, God, that was awkward. And that was our first two property. Thank God it got better. So the third one, the owners were still living there, but they were sitting in the garden and it was a brief little hello, very friendly. Weirdly, we'd walked past them in the street beforehand as well. So like it was all very, very cool. And the fourth house was empty, bar and builder. So all of that was really, really cool. So 4 houses we looked at in the end on that one day. And we came away with three out of 4 of them we would investigate and go further with. And now we've narrowed that down to 1, of course. I'll let you know how that goes, but it's very, very, hopefully an exciting period of time. Well, it's not really. Truth be told, it's one of the biggest problems I've had with this is that I don't feel excited about it. I have lived here, where I'm right now, for 10 years. This is a flat, a very large flat, but it's a flat, and I've lived for 10 years. Pre this, I lived in another flat for 7 years, and that was only 10 minutes away. I've lived in Welling, outside of when I lived with my... So basically, in my life, I've come into this country, aside from the few different places I lived with my parents when we first came to this country, on my own, outside of my parents' home, I've lived in Erith for a brief period of time. I lived in Woolwich for a very brief period of time as well, and this is all when I was still with Dan's mum. And then I've basically lived in Welling. The rest of my entire Welling in Kent, or well, the edge of Kent, for most of my adult life, really. I will not be living here in the future. Simply put, property prices here compared to well further out. So we're talking like the area Erith, Belvedere, Dartford, those areas. It's night and day. For the price that we can get up there, we would get very little here. It's that kind of thing. We're too close to London and stuff like that. So that's a major part of it. But that changed. It doesn't worry me, but it is, of course, change is scary. And immediately it's like, oh my God, this is the idea that this could even happen or what's going to happen is scary. But it also doesn't feel real. When you've been waiting for this or planning for this for a good few years now, I'm not going to go into details about the contract situation around this particular flat. Safe to say, we have planned this meticulously. Really, really have. to a certain point. So everything's working out in that regard. So there's no issues there, but it is still a bit like, okay, it doesn't feel real, right? It just sort of doesn't feel real. Even now, having viewed the property and liked the property enough, or we could put an offer in, and that is the plan. It's like, okay, then what? Like, it just sort of feels like we're playing a game. We're not really doing something so serious here. Particularly from our perspective, you know, it's obviously sometimes a lot of this is built around, well, what this property, you want to get in the property ladder, and then you might have kids later on, and then you will, you know, sell that one and buy a bigger one. So that's not really what we're doing here. But what we're aiming to do is buy somewhere that will be it. There are no kids in our future. You know, the plan is to always have a space available for Dan, of course, because, you know, I always want him to feel at home and welcome and a place and that kind of thing. But as much as it's about building a life that we can enjoy, like similar to what we have now, basically. Of course, it's going to cost us more, mortgage compared to rent and stuff like that, and other things that come with that and so on. But like, for the most part, we want to replicate what we have now there, and we believe we can do that currently. Like, that's what it kind of is. So the journey, the journey's involved so much thought and so much effort, and yeah, it's the right way to do things. But even still, we're lost a lot of the time. We've had this nightmare, funny situation. So we investigated a broker. It seemed like a good idea. It seemed to be something people were suggesting. We found one that went highly rated and with a price, and spoke to the advisor who was immediately quite helpful to begin with, got us our agreement in principle, all of that stuff. And then went deadly silent. I asked a question and never got a response. And I got really confused because I was like, well, what's their role in this? I wasn't sure if I had kind of made a mistake and maybe that wasn't their role and that's why I wasn't getting a reply. But I was also thinking, like, they should give me a reply, right? But I'm not used to this sort of thing. So, like, we didn't get a reply, and I thought, well, okay, no worries. Let's wait until, like, we're at the point of viewing houses, and maybe I'll drop her an email again and say, like, this is what we're doing today. Can you tell us what our next steps will be as far as yours concerned? Didn't get a reply. So, you know, we finally thought, forget this. Like, this is crazy. We haven't paid them any money yet because there is no money to be paid at this stage. But at least, you know, I mean, do you not want our business? Also, this is a company that prides itself on basically never having a negative review. This felt very negative. And check this crap out, right? This crap out. So we ring them up. And it's basically like, oh yeah, sorry about that, but she's currently off sick. Yeah, so like, what can we do to help you? And I find that quite outrageous, right? Not that she's off sick, because good God, you know, sickness, Jesus, no worries, you know. But like, did they not think, okay, let's look at her client list or potential client list and maybe tell them, like, oh yeah, by the way, sorry about this, but your broker was currently off sick, so may be unavailable. Here's some contact details. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've had to contact our office to find this out, and even then it was like, okay, well, we'll contact. Well, if she's back, but you know, it's like, wait, what do you mean? Like, if she's, and it really is weird because apparently this company, and I'm not going to say their name just yet, but like, you know, they pride themselves. I looked and they got so many positive reviews, including the broker that we've got is often named as a positive person, a positive thing, and obviously being off sick, I completely understand it, but it's the fact that from the company perspective, it's like, wait, you didn't want to tell the people? Like, I've emailed, like, Nia and I'd emailed twice and I had no reply. Like, from my perspective, it's like, oh great, cool, what am I supposed to do? And we're so new to this, we don't know what we're doing. Like, I earlier in the week had preempted all of this and jumped ahead and spoken to a solicitor, and even they were like, oh yeah, don't do this and don't do that and stuff like that, and wait for this and wait for that, because we just don't really know. We read a lot and you read all these steps and things like that, and we think we understand, and then it turns out we don't really. And then it was like, okay, this broker thing could be helpful, and even that wasn't being helpful. And even now it's like, okay, wait till we put an offer in and then we come back to you, but we don't know if our broker, the one assigned to our case, will be back from sickness. And even then, so then it's just going to be, okay, well, do we call the office? And it's really, really not great. So I'll be interested to sort of see if they improve and if I end up being the first person. Because right now, I consider it a very negative interaction where it's like, I've had to chase you to find this information out. And I don't get that, you know. I'm weirdly, it's one of the areas I kind of am quite strict on, where it's like, if your whole thing is exemplary customer service and stuff like that, and that's your whole thing, you kind of need to prove that. And currently, I don't feel it. Now, it was weird because we haven't paid them anything, but the next stage we would. That's where the first sort of payment comes in, where it's like, they do this for us and we now pay them money, effectively a commitment. They've already done stuff for us. The thing is, like, at this point, I'd be happy to commit to them, or at least I would have been, pre-knowing the fact that basically our broker is off sick and we don't know, or they haven't arranged a new one or told us what that means or reached out to us to tell us that was the case. Now, if we needed to get in contact with them to do something, all this really weird behaviour. And I guess maybe, like, they've been a bit bamboozled by it, but it was just a little bit disappointing, really. Doing this over Easter weekend's a bit awkward. but couldn't do any other way. It's just how it all fell in the end. You could have maybe waited a few more weeks, but really didn't want to. I've just come off the back of 7 lates where I couldn't do anything. The only day we really could view over the next couple of weeks was yesterday. That's why we packed 4 in. We initially wanted to do more, but in the end, after some messing around with other properties and things like that, we settled on 4. My sister Kimberly didn't help because she was aware of one property, having been into it, and basically ran it down to me to such an extent where she put me off it. Good job, Kimberly. So I decided not to review that one. But basically, it's like, okay, let's get this done. But now we're kind of stuck. Even if, like, say, we wanted to put an offer in today, we couldn't. It's Easter Friday, Good Friday. So that's not happening. Places are open tomorrow, Saturday. Saturday's a bit of a normal day, so that's good, but immediately goes straight back to Easter Sunday, Easter Monday, and then maybe life gets back to normal on Tuesday. God, I hope life gets back to normal. When you're working over a period like this, it is not fun to experience Easter from this perspective. It is not fun at all. Wow. You're like, oh, well, roads are quiet. No, they're not. No, they're not. I feel like they're worse, particularly the times I go to work, because I'm on late, which means I'm kind of going to work just after lunchtime. More people on the road than ever. Families, taking their kids places, coming back from places, all of that. And I'm not bemoaning what I am. I am. You know what? I am. Get off the road, man. Let me go to bloody work. But that's not even that. It's Easter. And basically everyone around us, every councillor's gone, you know what we need to do now? Roadworks. I have, from my home to work, or at least the road that connects me to work, the A2 basically, the one that runs towards Blackwall Tunnel, I have 4, 5 maybe different ways I can get to that, different directions I can go, some longer than others. Out of all, I think, is it 4 or 5? But basically, every single, whatever it is, every single one of them has roadworks. Some of them have several sets of roadworks, and what I mean by that is temporary traffic lights. And some of them are huge, massive time sinks. And it's just horrible. And it's like, it's been that way all week. And like, I get roadwork. I know roadworks, we all know they're irritating, but we also know they have to happen. But I will never understand this unserious ass country where a set of roadworks can be put down and you can drive past it at 10 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, and nothing's there. It's just some cones up, and a hole dug, and nothing, like literally, and it'll be that way for 4 days. And then randomly you'll find it filled in because they came along in the middle of the night and filled it in. But the cones are all still there because someone else has to come in and remove the cone. Like, honestly, man, I feel like so much of this stuff could just get done quicker. And that's what frustrates me more than anything else. A specific road near me, which is almost always my actual route I take, the quickest route to the A2 towards the Blackwall Tunnel and all of that, has been closed for a goddamn week. Completely closed with a massive detour. And often finding this out as well, if you look online, it's damn difficult. And then, so I wanted to, when I found out the first day I had to do a diversion, I did it. It was longer, but I lived with it. No big deal. So the next day I'm like, well, I'll go a different route. Go that route. Turns out that's got roadworks as well. Awesome. Finally changed it to another one that's got roadworks too. There was one left, and it was Shooters Hill, if you know the area, and that was going to be my route to and from work, even though I don't like to do that during the afternoon because it can be quite slow, particularly with buses. But either way, it was the only one without temporary lights, so I was going to use that one. Then randomly, I'm on my drive home from work one night, and then there's two sets of temporary lights on it suddenly, and I'm like, oh my god. So yes, I've not been enjoying the Easter holidays at all. But you know what? I said I'd update you. It's been, what, week? 2 weeks? 2 weeks since it's been a week, actually. It's been over a week now, God. Over a week now since the new tunnel opened. And so far, I'm loving it. Honestly, I'm getting, so far, all driving on my lates, I was driving through the tunnel traffic free. Now, I realise it's still not reflective of how it might normally be, being Easter holidays. I completely get that as well, but I now believe it generally might be an improvement at certain times. I'll be fascinated to see. Really fascinated to see. It's the early morning. It is between 6 a.m. and like 10 a.m. You know what they're defining as peak, and where they're going to charge you more for using the tunnels. That would normally, if I'm on a night shift, so driving back at that time, I will see the other side absolutely ramble all the way back. Again, I'm going to, if you know the area, to the Sun and the Sands. That sort of area, the Sun and the Sands roundabout. So it's going to be fascinating to see how that improves. That's why I think you'll still see like traffic built up. But one of the things I thought was really interesting, so campaigners leading up to the new tunnel opening were quite hot, and kind of one of the things I saw was they felt like it was going to, even though ULEZ and all of that, they felt like it was likely going to increase those issues around emissions and stuff like that, because of lorries now using the new tunnel, because it was more designed for them and they could fit into it and stuff like that. The whole argument against that was that the pricing system, particularly in the peak, was going to be more than it was to go and use the Dartford crossing, which is charged as well. So there would be no financial sense to do it, which made sense. It did make sense. It really did. I'm going to say, I think the campaigners were right. I have noticed a genuine increase in big old lorries. Big lorries that I would never normally see come that route because, of course, they cannot go through the Blackwall Tunnel. On that road going towards the new tunnel. I keep forgetting the name of it, but the new tunnel. And obviously peeling off and going in that one. In some cases, they're actually already causing slight traffic issues. So there's one the other day that, like, so basically 3 lanes. It is 3 lanes from where I joined. So say it was Sun and the Sands, or it was further back at Danson or anywhere like that I joined. It's effectively 3 lanes on the Blackwall Tunnel section, the leading towards from Blackwall Tunnel, that part. 3 lanes with some exits here and there, but it's 3 lanes. And then as you near the Blackwall Tunnel, it becomes 4 lanes. And there's 2 right-hand lanes are towards the new tunnel, and the left and the middle are towards the Blackwall Tunnel. That's how it works. But this truck was sitting in the middle lane of the 3, sitting in that one. Obviously bad driving, full stop, of course. But obviously it wanted to use the other tunnel, but wouldn't want to sit in the right-hand lane because under the whole, like, the right-hand lane is the faster lane. It's not on that section and stuff like that. The right-hand lane now is inevitably going to lead to the new tunnel. But yeah, because of that, it was then slowing cars down behind that. It was a bit like, okay, I could see little issues going down, but it was notable just for me, the increase in lorries going through. Is this interesting? Do people really care? I am just rambling, aren't I? I really, really am. I don't think anybody cares, but I don't know. It's been like 2 weeks since I've talked about this, and this is just a lot of stuff got to get out. I'm going to move on though and stop talking about like cars and tunnels and traffic and shit like that. Last of Us was pretty good, right? I enjoyed episode 1. Me and Damon have done a video review for it now. Hopefully you've watched it already. Do check that out. In that, I do get a bit angry at people who are attacking Bella Ramsey based off her looks. I find that simply disgusting. You should be ashamed of yourself. I'm going to do it here again. Be better. Are you fucking kidding me? Seriously. You don't have to like the actor. You don't have to like the actor in the show. You don't have to like the character. You don't have to like all of that. But if your thing is, ugly, the man, what do people say about you, right? Right? Think of it like that. Anyway, I'm really enjoying it. Can't wait to see how it plays out. What else have I been doing? I've mainly been listening to music. I've not really watched a lot. I wanted to do a couple of things for Easter from the horror perspective, but we basically have dredged the barrel for Easter horror. We really have. If you put Easter into the search bar of the site, you'll get tons. If you put bunny in, you'll get other variations than that, because the search is quite strict in the sense that Easter doesn't always mean bunny, or you'll have to go through a couple of pages to find ones like that. Not everything is Easter related. Sometimes we kind of tagged or put bunny related stuff into it. So for example, Bunny Man. It's a bunny killer in a bunny outfit. It's not really Easter related, but you know, we associate bunny with Easter, so it's that kind of thing. But yeah, we've really dredged the barrel that I was like, oh shit, we really don't have much. There's some out there that are super low budget, but I can't find ways to view them. I can't use my usual tricks. I can't find them online in sort of hidden dark corners. A couple of really like Serial Rabbit. I'd really like to watch those films, but I just can't find ways to watch them in the UK. If you know, please drop them in the comments. It'd be cool for me to check those films out. I'd really like to. But yeah, I found one called Easter Evil. Super low budget. About 70 minutes on YouTube. The full movie was there. Yeah, read the review. I didn't like it, put it that way. But I ended up doing a few shorts as well. Mainly though, it's been music reviews. It's been music reviews and listening to stuff and preparing for what's going to come up next, really. Pretty busy week, but nothing too significant. Thinking about doing Download Press this year, or applying for Download Press this year. I've never done it before. Never done enough for Download really to warrant it, I think. But I kind of feel like, I kind of want to get started on that side of things. Obviously, we do Bloodstock pretty much every year and have done for the last 6 or so years. And there's always a pleasure. I'm grateful for it. But we don't really, I think I told you this before, we don't ask for enough. A part of it is because I really like music. So when I see a gig I want to go to, I will go to that gig. I will get tickets myself. Obviously, I'm in a blessed position to be able to afford that, so of course. But when I didn't get it happens all the time. Like I'll get a gig invite 3 days before the gig's going to come, and it's like I'm going already. Like thank you, I'm going already. Thank you. There's not a lot I can do about that. I just don't. I think it's always going to be a problem. I just don't see me waiting for gigs to then go to. The only way it really sort of happens is when I may not have gone to the gig already, or that there was a conflict where it wasn't really going to work out, and that conflict then disappears. But festivals are a little different. Festivals require a little bit more commitment, and Download will require a serious commitment from me. But I am game. I'm very up for like at least trying to do it this year. So I am considering. I haven't actually done it yet. I have the form. I am thinking about it. It'll probably just be me if it is the case, and I certainly would want to do it from a work perspective. But I am intrigued and excited by the idea of doing something a little bit different. But we shall see. That's been a thing. I've reached out to Desert Fest twice, but I've had no reply from the email that it has in its FAQs. So that's not going to happen. I might still want to do a day. I'm not entirely sure. It's an affordability thing and time thing more than anything else. Incineration Fest I'm already going to. I think I told you the story that I reached out Incineration Fest way before we became fans of it, without really never done anything for it. I may have sort of like, unasked for it, I never got a reply, so I may have ended up insulting them, or at least embarrassing myself. So I'm very aware, like, I'm not doing shit like that anymore. But I'm more than happy to support Incineration Fest from this perspective. I want to go there, I enjoy it and stuff like that. But yeah, so like that's been kind of dominating thing. It's WrestleMania weekend. I mentioned that really as a funny kind of thing. Years ago, I would have been very excited about this weekend. Probably even last year, I might have been like interested at least. But now I couldn't care less. Liam's over there. I hope he has a great time. Yeah, hell of a lot of money to spend and do that, but it's a once in a lifetime thing for sure. And something I've definitely considered in the past, but these days I care very little for it. Basically, I'm out of love with wrestling. I've always been in and out of wrestling. I grew up like we all did in the 90s, loving the Attitude Era. Fell out of love for it in the early 2000s. Actually grew up watching WCW more. WCW and then into the Attitude Era. WWF, early 2000s. Fell out of love for it. Was brought back in around 2010, maybe 2012 by Liam, mainly because of CM Punk. Then I watched that for a few years as well, and then fell out of love with it again, and then was brought back into it with AEW. Both me and Lou were committed to AEW, really enjoying watching it for many, many years. But bit by bit, I found myself less interested. I found it hard to keep up. There was too much content. I just don't have the time to watch that much wrestling every week. And it was part of the reason why I stopped. I didn't really care to watch WWE, because it was a matter of 5-6 hours a week, and that was a lot of time to commit to wrestling. And then AEW was like, oh no, it was 2 hours a week. And then it became 3 hours a week. And then it became 5 hours a week. And then you've got your pay-per-views and all that. And suddenly it was just like, we're missing shows. And it was harder and harder to keep up. And it was like this guilt about it. Because it was like, not only is it hard to keep up, but then you're kind of constantly every week watching like 3 or 4 hours of wrestling straight. And that's not that enjoyable, folks. It's not that enjoyable. But when you start missing bits, you feel like you're missing out and stuff. But I'm going to talk about a real reason, the biggest reason. They're all reasons, but the biggest reason why I fell out of love with wrestling is the fandom. So I have said this in the past, and I think it bears repeating. In fact, it's a question in Ozzy Osbourne. What is a fandom that scares you just a little bit? This is not a little bit, this is a lot. Wrestling fans. I think the majority, or at least from the internet wrestling fan perspective, are some of the worst people I've ever experienced, who can ruin it for just about everybody. Not only do they act in embarrassing, shameful ways, but they act in cretinous ways and disgusting ways, to the point where I find most of that so off-putting that the only way, near the end of my time of watching wrestling, I had to go through every social media account and basically block. I wasn't even following these. Because of the algorithm, maybe I'd once read an article, I had to block news sites, because even news sites were doing opinion-based stuff. They weren't reporting the news of a wrestler, they were adding an opinion thing. But say it was a bit of a news item that I wanted to read about, a wrestler's coming back, a wrestler got injured, this, that, whatever. That should be informative to me, but by clicking on that, it meant all I get was other people interacting with that. But guaranteed, I'd click on, say, a news item, oh, so-and-so did this thing on a wrestling show. The very first comment would be somebody dragging it for the other side. The tribalism, I have never seen tribalism like it exists in wrestling, in particular between AEW and WWE, and it is some of the most embarrassing stuff I've ever had to experience, and I hated it. I hated it with a passion. I would have happily watched AEW, WWE, New Japan, you name it, CMLL, all these things, but I don't even have the time to watch one wrestling show. So we decided AEW had the majority of the wrestlers that we enjoyed watching, and the star that we particularly cared for. But even then, it just started to become too much, but my God, it was sickening. I had to go through it and basically block accounts that I had never followed, weren't interacting with, but just because algorithms kept showing me this stuff, thinking I had interest in wrestling, but I didn't have interest in people going, oh, I hate this wrestler because they wrestle for the other side, and it was the constant thing. And then I'd go on there, and everybody for so long was obsessed with viewing figures, attendance numbers, money being made, fucking talking about the grind, all this stuff that was just the most pathetic, horrible things I've ever had to read and look at and see, that it ended up actually generally damaging my interest into it. And then you'd have wrestlers doing it. You'd then get wrestlers themselves getting involved in some way, leaving a company and then running down the other one or saying this and all this. And it was just a constant slew of bad feeling around it. I started to think there was nothing feel good about this. There's nothing to enjoy. As much as I'd tell myself, just ignore it and enjoy it, but I couldn't. Because the moment anything happened, and like with wrestling, it moves so fast and fluid, you kind of try to come out with news. But the moment anything happened, it was like just a constant deluge of bad blood, added with my fact that I felt like I couldn't keep up with it, added with the fact that I was then feeling guilty, like I was missing out and stuff and not being involved in it. That we got to All In last year at Wembley, and it basically became our season finale. Not even our season finale, our finale. We went to it, we thoroughly enjoyed it, and then we came out of it and we were like, are we done? Nah, we didn't officially say we were done for a few months afterwards, but basically we didn't really watch it. And then we were kind of like, wow, we haven't watched it in ages, and we knew we hadn't. We both talked about having sort of guilty feelings about it, and then we were like, I remember I asked the question, I said, are we done? And Lou was the same, was like, oh, I don't know if we are, like, you know, it kind of felt weird to not think we'll be watching the likes of Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega and all of that on a sort of weekly basis. But then we were just kind of like, I think we're done. I think we tried to watch it. I think we decided, well, what we'll do is we'll just watch an episode of Dynamite to get ourselves back into it. And we watched it and we enjoyed it, but we were like, it's not the same. And then we were just like, we're done. And that was it. And we've never looked back. Some days I miss it. Some days I think, just try and get back into it. But then I'm always like, no, we don't have the time. Like, look at the last week. When Dynamite was a Wednesday. Dynamite's Wednesday, and like Collision's a Saturday, right? I presume it's all the same. The last set of Dynamite and Collision, and then following Dynamite, I couldn't have watched. Not with Lou anyway. So it would have been 2 Dynamites and a Collision that we had then backed up on. Or we just have to skip one. You know what I'm saying? And people say, well, just skip one. Skip 1 or 2 and stuff like that. It's hard when it's a weekly. It's like it's not quite as bad as, say, skipping an episode, say, The Last of Us. But you can still miss a lot. And it's hard to catch up, particularly when there's so many other shows and content going along online. So then you go, okay, well, no worries. I'll go online, right? But that means I have to interact with wrestling accounts again. And that means I get the shit again. And it is, I'm telling you, folks, you have no idea. If you're not into this, you have no idea how bad it is. A large proportion, not even a small proportion, a large proportion of online wrestling fans are the worst. All they want to do is sound like they know everything. The smartest asses in the world, but also some of the most horrible behaviour too. It is honestly a shithole place to be. So the idea of even having to re-interact with that just is dreading. I love that I can now go to most of my algorithms. Most of my social media algorithms now know that I have no interest in wrestling. And if I see something wrestling appear on my feed, I will immediately find that account or like press the top corner to block it and say, because I don't want the algorithm knowing at all that I have any interest into it. And that's where I'm at. So I do hope if you're like into it, you enjoy it. But I'm well and truly out. And I'm really glad for it, you know. I've got too much going on in my life these days to have wrestling as part of it. I'm not calling anybody sad or weird for enjoying it. I have enjoyed it in the past. And hopefully I will again in the future when I find a way to make my peace with the current state of it. I enjoy gaming, I enjoy horror, I enjoy music, I enjoy all these other things. I'm sitting and talking like this to you about all of these things. So we've all got the things we enjoy. But if you are one of those who then go online to go, AEW only did 550,000 attendance on our latest show, whereas WWE did 1.5 million, or you go in there and go, oh my God, WWE's for ratings dropped for that week of Raw. Like, honestly, you sad person. Just enjoy the fucking show. And in that way, maybe you won't make it so hard for others to enjoy it as well. Listen, I'm going to wrap this up. 35 minutes is a good enough time to step in. I'm wrapping it up because I've got 20 minutes to an interview. Which, fingers crossed, God, I hope they show up. Because I had one last night. They didn't show up. It's been, again, another little run where I haven't been able to do as many interviews, but they've not always gone as well. So I'm hoping they show up because it's the only interview I've got before I start another run where I can't do any. I've really enjoyed a lot of interviews that have been coming out a lot recently as well. I've had a ton. I hope they've been pretty interesting. I hope you're enjoying the content, really. Work hard at it. Really, really do. But love doing it. No complaints. And yeah, I'll see you soon. Got any thoughts on what I've talked about here? You know what to do. Let me know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed what you've seen, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. It does help us out. You can find us at gbhbl.com and across all social media platforms. And if you really want to give us a bit of extra support, please consider buying us a cup of coffee over on our coffee page. Thank you.